All right. So that was Madman Possessed with Norman, the song about Norman Bates, if you can believe it or not. That's by a friend of mine who does parody death metal. So if you get a chance, go on his YouTube, his Instagram, his Facebook. It's Madman Possessed, and they have music and CDs for sale. They got T-shirts for sale. I have a couple of them. So check them out, give them a listen, and tell him that Rainey sent you. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Rainy Nights with Friends. Tonight I'm here with my friend Brianna Cutler. We say hello.
Hello, guys. How are y'all?
All right. Before we start, let me go ahead and mention we have got a little over 2 months left till Forgotten Angels. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, get your tickets for Forgotten Angels. It's a charity who brings in men who have aged out of the foster care system and women and single mothers to give them a second chance at life that they never got while they was in the foster care system. So look them up at www.forgottenangelsflorida.org. I'll have it down in the comments, so make sure you look it up. All right, Brianna, welcome on. How are you tonight?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. I'm super excited to be here.
All right, so I barely caught you because you've had a very busy schedule lately. So we'll get into that later and talk about the things you've been doing and why you couldn't get on till now. But so first, let's just talk about it. Where are you from and what do you ride?
Yeah, so I am from Virginia, which means my home track is VIR. And personally, I have a Ninja 400. That's what I learned how to ride on. That's what I started with. But now I actually race for Royal Enfield's factory team in Moto America under the program Build Train Race. So I race Royal Enfield Continental GT 650 that I rebuilt into a race bike, which is part of the program. For those who aren't familiar with Build Train Race, it's exactly what the name states. It is an all women's team where we build the motorcycle ourselves. We train with MotoGP world champion Freddie Spencer, and then we race following the Moto America paddock to 8 different races per season. So it's a great experience. It's a 2-year contract, and I just completed my first year. So I've had lots of really cool experiences, and I'm excited for one more year of it.
Awesome. So have you won any? What's your top placing? Where are you at with that?
Well, the way the program works is there are some of the girls are returning riders, which means that they're experienced in the program and they've ridden the bike, they've ridden the tracks, and then there's the new girls. This year there were 8 returning riders, 4 new girls. So the very last race, I got 7th, which doesn't sound that good, but that means I actually did pass I was ahead of 2 of the returning riders, which is what I'm proud of because it really took me until the third round to even understand the bike. I mean, coming from a Ninja to a Royal Enfield, a cafe racer, it's vintage style. There's no electronics. I don't even have a gear indicator. I just have to listen and guess what gear I'm in. No, no speedometer, nothing. So learning that bike took about all season for me, and it wasn't until the last race that everything came together and clicked, and I was able to really push where that bike was breaking traction, and I was sliding around every corner. So it took me a little bit to get there, but now I feel like I just can't wait to get on the bike again for next season because now that I've got it and I understand it, it's just going to go straight up from here. So I'm excited.
Awesome. I forgot to brief you. Try not to wave your hands because it makes your focus go in and out. So
Oh, really?
you should know
Uh-oh.
that. You
I
should
talk
know
with
that
my
from the
hands a
Navy.
lot.
Yeah, the Navy didn't teach you that. God, what are they teaching kids these days, man? I tell you. Yeah,
I'm not sitting at attention right now. I can
no.
I can
Try.
sit.
Yeah, try. If you wave your hands, it makes your focus go in and out, and it freezes the camera up. I should have told you about that. That's my bad. I'm the one that does this a lot. I should have
Okay.
told you. All right. So how long have you been riding?
It's okay. I do not have a lot of experience for a Moto America rider. I did not get on a motorcycle until I was 15, and that was on the street. I got my motorcycle permit, same time I got my driving permit. So I did that, and then I realized, oh, I can't talk with my hands. I realized that riding on the street is actually quite scary, and there's a lot of big vehicles and two-way traffic and intersections and variables. And so, believe it or not, I went to track riding in search of something that felt safer, or more controlled risk. So I started doing track days, and from there, any woman that was in the paddock, when we would talk, Build Train Race got brought up just because it's such a staple program. Any girl that is in track riding is going to know about it because it's such a great opportunity for us. And so that's when I decided to apply to the program. I got in. It was a long application process, but to answer your question, I had never done a race before Moto America. I had done track days, but I had never done an actual race until I got in Moto America, which is not the typical pipeline for sure.
It's funny you say that. There was a NASCAR driver once that said he'd rather be on a track than on the street because sometimes when it's on the street, people actually turn right. It's like a NASCAR joke. Everybody always turns left. So,
Yeah,
but he says you
that's
always know which
funny.
way they're going to turn when they're on the track. So, yeah, a little inside joke,
Yes,
I guess. All right.
I
So,
definitely feel a lot more secure. I trust my teammates.
do you? I mean, you do ride on
That's
the street,
funny.
right?
Not anymore, no.
You're just a track
I don't
rider.
have anything that's street legal.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting. So we're gonna have we'll trim this down for you. So how did you get into motorcycles? I mean, you got into 15. I mean, you must have jumped straight into it if you wanted to got a motorcycle and all of a sudden you wanted to start racing.
Yeah, so my parents had ridden just casually on the street my whole life. They both had bikes. My mom even rode. Unfortunately, she's quite short, very, very short, and so she can drive. She just can't stop because she can't put her feet down. Um, but they both rode quite a bit, and so naturally, I just wanted a motorcycle. I thought it was kind of cool. I had ridden dirt bikes growing up. I just love driving anything with an engine in it. So I got the motorcycle, and I wanted more. But again, I'm very cautious if you can't tell. Like I like controlled risk and calculated situations, and to me it wasn't worth it, riding on the street, but I also had a lot of adrenaline that I wanted. And so, I wanted to go fast, but it's not very fun to go 120 miles per hour on the interstate anyway. You
Who
know,
says?
anyone can do that. You're just going in a straight line. It's not that hard.
Oh, not always. No. Oh my God, guys, she's making fun of bikers. What are you gonna do? Joe the Mountain Jedi, check in. Oh, let's see who's in the chat. I told people this off. So we got Journey of Jerry, Sick Bastard, Jim Reynolds, Paul Beardsley, Dan Pillion Style, and Joe the Mountain Jedi just stepped in. So welcome in everybody. Serenity Kitty, can't forget him, and then Sick Bastard. So welcome in everybody. If you guys have any questions for either one of us, just drop them in the comments, and I will just put at Reading Writer in front of it, and I will be sure to find your comment. If I have one of my moderators in here, if you find a good question, post it at the top, and I will fall back to it. Joe, I need the wife unit. She needs to moderate my channel. Tell her she's got to get in. Charles Barkley, welcome in. All right. So you got a lot of Florida people down there. So got any comments, got any questions, shoot them this way. All right. So Brianna, what is your favorite track to race at?
So, unfortunately, my favorite track is probably the farthest one on the continental United States from me. It's actually the Ridge in Washington, and I'm from Virginia, so that's pretty far away. But it is the coolest track. If you have not had the chance to ride it, good lord! If you haven't had the chance to ride it, it's really really cool. There's this great drop. It's called the waterfall. It's a super super tight turn. Um, it's terrifying for sure. It's like a first or second gear turn, as you're going downhill, but it is quite far away, and that's why I'm thankful for the Build Train Race program, because I would have never gotten to be anywhere near that coast or any of those tracks if it wasn't for them, because they transport my bike for me, at no cost. They fly me to the track. And so all I have to do is show up, and my bike is there. Everything I need is there. And so that's I've gotten to ride a lot of tracks that I don't think I would have ever willingly trailered my bike to.
So this isn't just an area that you race in. You race all across America.
Yes, so we're in Moto America, so we follow. Um, we went to Virginia, Wisconsin, Alabama, and Washington State.
Okay. So the one in Washington is your favorite. So which one? So do you have a favorite? And is your favorite also the one that you're best at racing?
It is not the one that I'm the best at, but it that track is special to me, the Ridge, because I that was the track that I finally understood the Royal Enfield at. That's when everything clicked. And I think it's because it's so technical, you don't really get a break. So I was constantly doing stuff, I was constantly moving around on the bike, and it just pushed me to push myself, on the bike and really wrangle it because it's heavy. I mean, it's about 430 pounds, and that's quite heavy for a race bike. It's also the aerodynamics are a lot different than what I'm used to because it has those vintage front, like bulbous fairings. The tank is very long, so it's much, much different than a Ninja 400, which I'm used to. But the Ridge, it's just special to me, and plus, it's so cool that drop hill that it has. I think it's awesome.
Okay. Paul Beardsley wants to know: are the bikes carbureted or fuel injected?
They are carbureted.
Okay. So obviously you're driving a modified bike, but the bike you're on, what is its base?
I'm sorry, what?
The bike that
You
you're
broke
on,
up.
the bike you're on is obviously
Hmm.
modified, but what is the base of the bike? It, you,
It's a Continental GT 650,
okay. So what's it
and
like
it's got
on?
about 47 horsepower.
That's well, I've seen all these pocket bikes that only have about 15, 16 horsepower, and you can get them up to good speed, and they're gone. So that's
Hmm.
that don't mean nothing. I think so I watched a thing one time on the 250 race series, and they said more people die in the 250 race series than in Superbike because once you get them up to
Wow.
speed, they're not meant to control all that speed. They get them up to speed, and then they've still got the same 250 brakes, the same 250 tires, same 250 suspension. So those bikes, once they get up to speed, are actually more dangerous than a Superbike.
Yeah, I agree with that. And on our bikes, there are some people in the paddock that are like, "Oh, the Royal Enfield girls are so slow," but we're going pretty fast for what those bikes were made for. This is not a super bike, and we are at the motorcycle's limit, 100%. So, yes, our speeds are slower, but we're pushing the bike, I feel like, just as much as they're pushing their Ducatis and Suzukis.
Yeah, it's we say in our little clique, it's more fun to ride a slow bike fast than to ride a fast bike slow because it feels
Yes,
like
I
you're
agree.
actually you're controlling something that wasn't meant to be. So it's like riding a roller coaster. Wife unit
Exactly.
wife unit says awesome Elvis prints in the background. We've talked about your Elvis fetish. I mean
Oh,
your
thank
Elvis
you.
something, but so talk about it. I mean, you're like 18
Yes.
and
Or no, I
Elvis.
just turned 19. I
You
forgot.
just turned 19, but you're an Elvis fan.
Yes.
How'd that happen?
Yes. I have been an Elvis fan for a long time, since I was 7 years old. I don't really know what happened. I just decided. My parents actually took me to a Buddy Holly tribute artist concert, and when I was 7 years old, and I absolutely loved it. I just loved 50s music, and from there I discovered Elvis, and I just latched on. I've listened to his music my whole life, and that's actually where my number comes from. I'm number 35, and that's because Elvis Presley was born in 1935.
Wow, you are a
So
fan.
Yes, I have my first tattoo that I got was his signature on my arm. I love Elvis. I can't sing, so that's a shame because I really do wish that I could sing Elvis songs, but I definitely know lots of Elvis trivia. So,
Do you? So you know Elvis trivia. Here's a question for you. Do you know where two of Elvis Presley's motorcycles are kept? Wouldn't you know it?
To
they're
where some of them are? No, I don't know.
they're 3 miles from my house at Southern Thunder Harley Davidson. Come visit.
Oh, wow.
They have one of
That's so
his
cool.
yeah, they have
Yeah,
one of
I
his
didn't know
electric
that one.
glides. Yeah, they have one of his electric glides, and they have a custom prototype that they made for him, and it was never delivered. So the Harley dealer by my house used to be called Graceland Harley Davidson. And when the Presleys sold Graceland, they also lost the rights to use Graceland anything but the people who bought it. So they had to change the name from Graceland Harley Davidson to Southern Thunder Harley Davidson. So they have a lot of Elvis stuff up inside that dealership. So if you ever come through here, the Memphis Speedway used to be a Moto America track, and then they closed it because of finance and stuff. The track is still there. If you ever open it back up and you come from here to race, you're going to be literally like 20 miles from a bunch of Elvis memorabilia that you don't have to go to Graceland to see.
That
an
is
echo?
awesome. That is really cool.
Is there an echo? Does anybody else hear it? Must not be. All right. Paul Beardsley wants to know, is there a lotto drawing for the bikes or the same bike and crew each race?
No, wait. Can you repeat the question?
I'm not sure what the question means. Paul, what do you mean? While Paul's going to rephrase this question because I don't understand it, Joe the Mountain Jedi has some Elvis trivia for you. Where did Elvis Presley go to boot camp?
Oh, go to boot camp? Oh, I think it was Fort Benning, Georgia.
And Joe's going to have to answer that one because I don't know. I know he was mechanized. I know he was in a tank unit. So
Hmm.
I would think there's three mech units. Benning is one of them. Which what would be for more now, but I think they're going to change the name back to Benning. So I think you're right. We wait for Joe
We'll
to come
see.
back.
I'm a little rusty. I was like my peak Elvis phase was probably 12 years old, but I mean, I still listen to him all the time, so we'll see.
Joe says that's wrong, but he didn't give us the answer. So sorry, Joe.
Oh no. Okay.
Hey, I would have thought it was Fort Benning too because I know he was mechanized, and so I would have said either Fort
Hmm.
Benning or the other field would be Fort Sill, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, no. So Paul, okay, so Paul's asking, are the bikes assigned to the rider or drawing for who gets each bike? And I know the question to that one because you have a special bike. You have a very special bike,
Yes. So
and you actually brought
yes.
a model of
Um,
it.
I did. I did. So, to answer the question, we each have our own motorcycle, and in addition to that, we actually get to keep the bike when we're done with the contract. This is my motorcycle, and the title is in my name for free. So, we each have the bike, and with the crew chief question, we are the crew chief. That's another part of the program. It's up to us to make decisions on what type of tires we want to do, what gearing we want to run, the strategy. All of that is up to us. We're also the main mechanic on the bike. We do have some mechanics under the tent to help us out, but we are our own team. It's very much, there's 12 girls all under the tent, and we're sharing tools and resources, but we're also competitors. So we're not necessarily helping each other being our crew chiefs, we're on our own strategizing and stuff. But to show you my bike for my birthday, my dear friend, who's very, very talented, made a model of my bike out of clay by hand. And this is the model.
That's pretty cool.
So, I mean, he's got all the sponsors. He's got the K-Tech suspension. Um, you can see like the vintage fairing, the exhaust. Like I can recognize we've got like my DNA air filter sticker, my RNG crash protection, my Motion Pro. Like he's got all the details.
That is pretty neat.
It's just fantastic. But my bike is yeah, my bike is well known and definitely well loved, especially by the children. They love it because it's so colorful. Um, I think I have the most colorful bike on the team. Um, a lot of the girls prefer like an all black look or a little bit more subtle, but that's just not really my thing. So I like the color.
Joe says Elvis went to basic in Fort Chaffee, Arkansas. So write that down
Mm,
in your trivia book.
okay.
Sterling says every time Joe is wrong, Tinkerbell loses her wings. He said an angel loses his wings. I'm going to change that. Joe the Mountain Jedi is a very big Tinkerbell fan because his wife is a big Tinkerbell fan and she gets to decide what he likes. So I'm going to say, yeah,
Oh, good.
Tinkerbell gets a
Well
black eye
trained.
every time. Well trained guy. Let's see. What else we got in the chats? Joe the Mountain Jedi says that Joe is our resident mechanical wizard. We call him Mountain Jedi because he's from Arkansas and he's also a motorcycle Jedi. He says, I'd love to sit down with you and go over your bike setup with you. My inner nerd has a need to make things faster and quicker. That's actually true. Joe does a series called Ran When Parked. So, and he takes bikes that are bought off of Craigslist, eBay, Facebook, whatever, and takes them from dead, not running to the joke inside the motorcycle community is when you sell something, the very last line always says "ran when parked." So, like
Right.
a bike
Yep.
I have was parked 12 years ago. It ran 12 years ago, but
Hmm.
and that's the joke. So he'll take a bike that's not running, get it perfect, and he also works in a motorcycle shop, which he does awesome work. So that would be well worth your time to come on one night when we're all on. Joe comes on every once in a while, and we'll talk about bike setups and race setups. So you are an actual
Yeah.
mechanic. You work on your own bike, which leads me.
Yes. So,
Go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead. This is your show, not mine. Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to explain a little bit of what I did to the bike. So, um, all the girls did the same things to the bike. So it was actually all together in a warehouse. So we have our build week where we have 5 days to convert it from a stock off the dealership Continental GT 650. And then we have a bucket of parts from our sponsors and a checklist. And we had about 5 days to convert it. And we did not touch the internals. So the engine is stock, just like you can go buy at the dealership right now. But some of the things that we did, and I can point to them on my model, we changed the clip-ons, to have racing ones, and obviously new clutch, brakes. Um, Rear sets are racing instead of just the foot pegs. The exhaust, we have S&S exhaust that we've added on there. Obviously, all the body work, that's, fiberglass racing body work. Suspension, we use K-Tech suspension. We have razor shocks in the back. We have, brake pads, lots and lots of stuff that's specific for racing to make it a little bit easier. We also have a lot of really cool RNG crash protection on on the engine because a lot of it is metal. With these vintage, it's very exposed, and so we have a lot of big plastic parts that we have attached so that they're basically like knee sliders, but for my engine. So when I'm going down, it doesn't file away the metal and then get oil all on the track. So
Smart.
we also cut off the entire back half of the bike because it is a two-seater. So we've done so much to it. We just haven't really messed with the internals, but there's no way that you could ride a stock bike as fast as we ride these just because of the ergonomics of it.
So you don't get to play with the engine, but do you get to play with the transmission, the chain setup, the sprocket? Do you get to change any of that, or do you have to
Yes.
race it as okay? What
Yep.
you
So that's another thing. It depends on the track, and we're given a couple vortex sprockets that we decide. We research the track. We see, you know, what type of gearing we want to run. Sometimes we'll share that with our teammates. Or okay, disclaimer: when I say teammates, I'm also referring to my competitors. It's weird because we're one team, uh, but then when we're on track, we're also competing against each other. But sometimes we talk and share what gearing we're doing, but sometimes, that might be our secret weapon. So It just depends on the track.
Joe the Mountain Jedi says, let me put it like this. What does the rule book not tell me I can't do?
Yeah. So we don't keep the bikes in between races, so that definitely prevents us from like doing anything. I couldn't take apart the engine and add something because it would have to be during a race weekend and they would definitely notice, you know? So, there's I don't think that there's any modified, hopefully not modified bikes out there that have been changed to not run like mine.
So, I mean, what would happen if you did? Let's say they got the bike back, do they tear the bikes down to see if you altered them anyway, like they do in like supercar and in GP racing and stuff?
No, but it would be pretty obvious because we're already pushing these bikes. And when you have, let's say, super sport classes, those are different bikes. They're different manufacturers, they're different setups. You don't, as a spectator or even, in race direction, they don't know exactly how fast that bike should go. But with us, when we're running the exact same motorcycle with every single part the same, it should be relative, our acceleration points should be very similar, our braking, all of that. And it would be pretty obvious if someone was running a modified bike. But I mean, literally, we're all under the same exact tent. There's only a couple feet between our motorcycles, and there's people walking around like they would definitely see me if I was trying to do something.
Paul wants to know if is there a channel I can go to? Is there a video, like a social media I can go to watch this, or can you only watch these in person?
So it is streamed, and they have commentary and like the leaderboard and stuff. It's put together really professionally, in my opinion. There is an app. I don't know if you watch MotoGP or F1 or anything, but it's the same style. The Moto America Live app. Unfortunately, you have to pay for that, but they've started to stream more and more races on YouTube again. So there's at least two or three recent Build Train Race races up on YouTube right now, and the commentators are great. They're really funny, and so you can watch it on there.
Yeah, I used to watch MotoGP
And
on the
also,
Speed 2 channel, and I can't get it anymore, so now I have to watch everything on YouTube. Speed
yep,
2 went away
every
in my area. You can't watch it, so I don't even know if it exists anymore. But it used to be all of the alternative speed channels. So instead of race, cars and drag racing stuff, Speed 2 would show mostly motorcycle stuff and like dune buggy racing and like short track racing and stuff like that. So I don't even know if it exists anymore, though.
hmm
I may be
I've
talking
never heard
about
of
the
it. That's
past. Yeah,
funny.
I'm talking about. I'm talking to a 19-year-old. Yeah, this is how good life used to be. You could turn on the channel, go straight to the channel to Speed 2, and watch anything you wanted to watch.
hmm
Yep.
I'm jealous.
I feel old. Okay. So anyway, what's our next question? So Joe says, so this is a sealed motor class, as in zero internal mods. Question:
Yes.
the only thing you could change is the things like sprocket, chain, tires. Can't change the brakes either. You mentioned that.
We can change brake pads, but they're going to be the same ones. We can only just change them out, and
So
make
you
them
can't go to a lighter brake
fresher.
to
But
control your coming into the turn or.
no,
Okay, let's see.
we can't. I did add a quick shifter. That's optional, but that's it.
Okay. Joe says, me and him are old. Yes, we are. All right. Let's go back to the question board here. Um, so you don't do street riding. It skips a couple of questions. But you do stuff, with CBs. You do stuff with younger riders. Um, anything you do with charities or anything you do with special groups to.
Well, I'm sponsored by the Sea Cadet Corps, so that I'm their very first sponsor. I'm like a brand ambassador of the program. I recently graduated out of the Sea Cadets. For those who don't know, it's actually the Navy's very own youth program. A lot of people don't know that they have one, but it's a national program. There's units all across the country. They have incredible summer trainings. It's kind of like a reserve schedule. So 1 weekend a month you go to drill, and then in the summer you do 2 week trainings. It could be scuba, culinary, intel, flying, all sorts of stuff. So I did that program from 13 years old to 18. And after I aged out, I approached them and asked if I could continue to represent the program, um, with my racing, because I'll be in the public eye, and I'm just so proud of what the program has become and how much it has helped me. So I just want to be involved as much as I can with them. So I'm always trying to get donations. Recently, the funding was cut largely for the Sea Cadets. So we're trying to raise money for them. I would love to be involved in some more charities. I do volunteer a lot with people, dementia patients. I love working with them. So I just do lots of little stuff.
So you have a very eclectic hobbies, but you also have a very
Yes.
eclectic employment. Would you like to talk about it?
Yes. So I think I have probably the weirdest job ever for a motorcycle racer. I am actually a funeral director and embalmer. So, or I'm an intern right now, but that's what I'm in school for. So I work at a funeral home and I embalm bodies as well as plan and work funerals, for the families. And I think it's just my calling, it's my dream job. I am so excited to graduate college and become licensed because it is just such a joy. People think working with death is really sad and negative, but I think it's extremely positive because every day I get to come into work and hear the best things about people and, see how much they were loved. Plus, the embalming side of it is very cool to me, like the anatomy, the science behind it. I think it's the coolest job ever.
So have you ever heard of the what's it called? The Society of the Great Death? It's a
No.
there's a mortician's channel on YouTube, and she owns a mortuary in California, in Los Angeles, and she does a mortician's channel. She talks about death, and she talks about famous deaths and people that died, and the things that happened during their embalments, or in their, oh my gosh, what's my word, during the autopsies. And she talks about famous murders and famous killings and famous body discoveries and stuff. And I wish I could remember the name of the girl. Her name is Caitlin, and I can't remember the name of her
Caitlin,
channel.
yes, I've read her books.
So yeah,
Um,
Society of
Ask a
the
Mortician.
Ask a Mortician. Yes, yes, that's her.
Yes, I love her.
Caitlin
She's
Dawdy.
one of the reasons
Dawson.
why I thought about it.
We also have a friend that goes down to Florida to the charity camp with us called Moto Mortician. So you talk about being a motorcyclist and also a mortician. He is. I think he's in Texas. He lives
Oh,
in Texas.
really?
So yes, and it's
Oh my goodness.
yeah, that'd be cool. So nobody's asked you yet in the comments. So have you ever heard of Forgotten Angels?
Very recently, yes.
um, Joe says, "Am I talking about Lauren the mortician?" No, no, he's Caitlin Daughtry. That's the one I'm talking about. Ask a mortician.
I also know Lauren though.
So I have not heard of Lauren the mortician. I wonder, is Lauren ever been on Caitlin's channel? Because I know there's a really short girl that's always on her channel. I thought her name was Lauren.
I don't know, but I know that Lauren has been involved in some mortician scandals before.
Oh.
I remember seeing that.
There's so many mortician scandals I've heard about in the last 5 years. It's
I
absolutely
know.
crazy. And obviously Caitlin already talked about one of them where they had one, was it in New Jersey or New Hampshire, where they were stacking bodies in the back room because they didn't have enough gas, or they didn't have the right something to cremate them all. So they would just pile them in the back until they could find time to cremate them. And the guy was busted.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
And he wasn't paying his toxic disposal service. They were just flushing all of the blood and formaldehyde down the drain, and the drain, it was overflowing in the street one day. The sewage backed up and they were overflowing formaldehyde and blood into the street. That was a good time.
It's insane.
Anyway, but we're not here to talk about that. Okay, Joe had a question. Sorry. Okay, on chassis setup, what are you allowed to do as far as ride height, weight bias, and also are you restricted to stock carbs or can you run aftermarket race carbs like flat sides or the like?
So, with the suspension, we can change the preload, the compression, the rebound. That's it. Everything else, that's it. That's all we can do. And then with the carbs, no internals. So literally all we can do is the chains, the sprockets, and the suspension. So when I'm going into a race, I'm looking at the track, seeing like how long is the straightaway, you know, how much corner exit speed can I get without topping out in sixth gear on the straightaway. And so that's what I'm looking for. And I'm just trying to find gearing that's, the right ratio for that.
I'm trying to remember. I think it's Honda has an engine that I think it's F1, where they deliver the engine, they put the engine into the car, and you can't touch the engine once it's in. The race team sets up suspension, tires, and all that, but the engine can't be touched at all. Honda puts it in. At the end of the race, they put it back in a crate and they ship it back to Honda. So it's not quite exactly that, but it kind of is.
I mean, very similar. Like that, I really think that's cool, and I do like it because it really highlights the rider ability. And I think the adaptability of these girls, for me, it took me a little bit to get used to the motorcycle. And so it really shows, who can just jump on any bike and master it versus, who is not going to figure it out.
So Joe says he's just trying to brainstorm to find you some speed. Joe has helped me a lot, especially with my build. So I have a build in the garage. He does one called Ran When Parked. I do an episode called Ran When Wrecked. The bike I have was actually raced at Memphis Speedway and wrecked on the Speedway. It's a 650R. And so I've been fixing that up, and Joe's been helping me find parts for it and give me some ideas on how to do things. So his insight would be brutally awesome if you wish to take it. Ain't saying you got to. But.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be really cool. I did find some more speed mentally in my own head. The very last race, it just something clicked for me, and I was so aggressive. I've never been like that in my whole life. I don't really get mad as a person. I'm not super aggressive, but something happened that last race, and I just was going insane.
What is your favorite race you've ever ran? And what was special about
I would say the last one. The last one that I just did, and it was the last race of the season. It was at VIR in Virginia, and I had 30 of my closest family and friends there, and it was my birthday. So they all got to see me race, and, they've been watching me steadily get, like, last place all season, and then all of a sudden, while they're watching, I just pushed it way harder than I ever have, and they were so excited. I mean, they're like jumping on the fence and screaming. They were running from turn 1 to turn 4 every lap, like back and forth, a mob of 30 people screaming, so excited. And I was so happy when I was done. When I crossed the finish line, I had so much adrenaline, I just started crying. I was so happy, and I don't really cry that often. In the career that I'm in, I'm pretty good at not crying, but I was just bawling. I couldn't see in my visor. I was so happy. So that was my favorite race.
I'd cry if I won. I mean, yeah. Why not? If you're going to cry, you should cry when you win. Absolutely sure. Joe's wife says literally got his thinking cap on, looking where he's found a challenge he's trying to deconstruct. Oh, was that heads down? Wife Unit also says happy birthday and good for you for digging out your inner beast.
Thank you.
All right. So, what is the stupidest thing you've ever done on a motorcycle?
So, if you can't tell the pattern here, that I am quite cautious, and I definitely don't just go out and rip it. So probably the stupidest thing I've done is go slower than I need to and still be scared. Like I'm perfectly fine. Everybody else can do it, so can I. Um, I don't really like go crazy and do stupid stuff, but probably the dumbest thing I would say is not trusting my motorcycle and not trusting my ability that I know that I have to go faster.
All right, good answer. All right, you kind of touched on it. What is this? What has been your scariest moment on a bike?
Probably last race. Oh, also, the real scariest moment. I did Yamaha Champ School, and at the end of the school, they do a two-up ride with a Moto America racer. So I sat on the back. I backpacked on the back of a Moto America racer on a track, and we did like 5 laps, and I knew I was going to die. I knew 100% that we were going to crash every corner. I'm like, this is it. I love my parents, like goodbye. And then somehow we made it. It was horrifying. I was so scared. I didn't know motorcycles could go that fast.
She enjoyed it though, right? Like a roller coaster.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. All right. So, what has been your favorite part of riding?
My favorite part about riding is, I think the main thing is the people that you meet. Some of the other sports that I've done in my life, the community just wasn't exactly what I was hoping for. Like I did motocross, like dirt bikes for a while, and the people, you're camping next to them, they're not gonna come say hi. It wasn't super friendly. And so when I came to motorcycle racing and track days, everybody was so wonderful. One moment that stands out to me is when my dad crashed because he rides with me. We both started track days at the same time for a little hobby together, but he got in a pretty bad crash and had to take a helicopter ride. And as he was getting airlifted, we needed to go to the hospital, and we had no vehicle because we had driven our Class C motorhome, which is, on a semi truck chassis. So we can't drive that to the hospital. We were in Pittsburgh, we can't take that through the city. So we had no vehicle, and we're freaking out. And this gentleman, his name is Dwayne, and we did not know him at the time. He was watching what was happening. He gave us his keys. He said, "Here's my keys. Go be with him. We'll figure out the rest later." And he just gave us his vehicle, and we were at the hospital for like 3 days, and I just can't believe a stranger would do that for us, and we're still friends to this day. So that's a moment that stands out, and that's why the community is so, so wonderful, and that's my favorite part about riding.
That's pretty cool. The community we hang out down in Florida. Every camp out we go down there. So I'm on the Boo Boo unit. I'm a combat lifesaver, or was in the military, and I'm also a medical responder. So when we go out there, I'm in a unit called the Boo Boo unit. We bandage up people when they get hurt, burned, cut, whatever. And there's always people out there. Like we do the Boo Boo unit. There's always guys out there fixing other people's bikes. You never go through the camp at any time when somebody's not helping someone else work on their bike, or somebody's breaks down 100 miles away. We're down in Tampa. Somebody broke down in Lakeland. They drove all the way up with a trailer to get them to bring them the rest of the way, because they came all the way from like middle Mississippi and got to Lakeland, broke down. So they took them down the rest of the way. And then when they got there, they worked on their bike for almost 2 straight days. They got to enjoy some of the camp out, but I think that's what a lot of people live for. They live for helping other people, and that gives you a feeling, like no other. We always say charity is when you give something up, whether it be your time, your money, or your effort, and you never want anything back in return. That's true charity, and I think that's what makes us, that's the human experience, I think, and I think that's what fills you up inside, makes you a whole person, is when you can help someone else. I'm waxing poetic, but I think that's what it's all about. I think that's what being a human is about.
Absolutely, no.
Joe says, funny how this big dysfunctional family does
Absolutely,
stuff
I
like
agree.
that. All right. What's our next question? Let's see. What's been the most frustrating part of racing for you?
Most frustrating part, if you're sensing a theme here, is getting over my own fears. I was a really confident rider before. And conveniently, right as my first Moto America season happened, I had a really bad crash the weekend before my first race. And I just got so freaked out. I couldn't get it out of my head. And it took me a while to get over that. And people kept saying, just give it time. And I was like, that's stupid. I don't want to give it time. I want it fixed right now. Like, what can I do? And they're like, there's nothing you can do. You just need to give it time. And that was really frustrating for me because I was trying to do something tangible that would fix it.
Instant gratification.
Um, but finally, just like everybody said, I got over it and it was fine. But that was really, really frustrating. And that was a time that if I was not under contract to continue racing, it would have been really hard to stay in the sport. So I'm glad that there was, some pressure put on me to stay.
Something that holds you in. So you
Hmm.
said you don't have a street legal bike right now, but what bike do you want?
I would love another Royal Enfield. I think like a 1960s style. I just want another vintage bike. I my first motorcycle that I got was a 1998 Suzuki 1500 Intruder, which sounds if you don't know what that looks like, it sounds sporty and Japanese. It is the most American cruiser looking bike ever. It was pale yellow and full of chrome, studded seats. It was beautiful. But I also have a classic car. I have a 1963 Chevy Corvair. Um, and so that was my breaking down vehicle. And because the motorcycle was a 1998, it also broke down kind of often. And I ended up selling that because when I wanted to ride, I just wanted to get on the bike and drive and not have to worry about it breaking down. But it was beautiful. And so I think another, like a vintage cruiser or something like that would be real cool.
If you like vintage bikes, you need to come to the camp out, because every bike, probably half the bikes there are vintage bikes or fixed up bikes, or they're auctioning off a vintage bike. Or hell, we'll go down to the ride factory where Joe works. Joe, how many classic bikes do you think you have in there right now? And I think he just fixed up um, a bike like that. It wasn't yellow. I think it was black or blue. But yep, yep, you'd love it down
That's
there.
cool.
What
Yeah, I
what's your
love the
ride
style.
season? What's your ride season?
I ride, well, BTR, Build Train Race, starts in March and it ends in August, but I'm going to be doing amateur races and track days for the fall as well.
Okay, if you can swing it, we'd love to have you at one of the campouts, because it is what Joe says, a very human experience. He says all campouts are a human
Oh,
experience. However, some of them are the darker side of human experiences. Ours are good though. They're very guarded.
I would love to.
Paul Beardsley says he learned to drive in a '62 Corvair.
Oh, cool. They're awesome cars. There's Ralph Nader, who's a politician. He wrote a book about them and how much he hated them, and they kind of lost popularity after that. But I think they're fantastic cars, and it was my dream car, and I love it. Her name is Connie, the Corvair, and I think she's fantastic.
Joe says at his shop he's got stuff from the '50s on up. If you've never seen Joe, he actually goes live sometimes from his shop, and the shop is full of old bikes, and he kind of specializes in old bikes. A lot of people love carbureted stuff. A lot of people love fuel injected stuff, but I don't know, man. I'm right in the middle. I'm right in between. I like the consistency of fuel injection. We don't have to adjust it, but there's just something about a carbureted motorcycle that just feels special. And it doesn't have a limit.
Hmm.
The more you can, as long as you keep giving it air and gas, it just keeps going faster. So
Hmm.
very awesome motorcycles. But anyway, let's not make this about me. Let's make it about you.
No.
So what are your plans for the rest of the year? What you got going on?
So it's a pretty crazy time right now because I am working full time as as a funeral intern because we have to serve a residency to get licensed. So we have to do 2,000 hours of an internship as well as a couple other requirements like a degree in funeral service. So I'm working on my internship at a funeral home, but I'm also in school. I start next week. My next semester starts for college. And I also just got a puppy about 5 days ago. So it's a little crazy right now. He's a brand new Doberman puppy. So it's been pretty exciting,
That's a
but very
handful.
busy.
Very much a handful.
But he's a good dog. His name is Crimson, like Crimson and Clover. Um, and he's doing a good job so far. So, and hopefully he's going to come to the funeral home. He'll be able to come to work with me.
Oh, cool. Joe says Ralph Nader was most likely a hall monitor in grade school.
Yep.
The book, yeah. So the book, as Serenity Kitty and Paul both said, the book was called Unsafe at Any Speed. And when I was growing up in the 70s, early 80s, it was a very popular book because there was a big misconception that the book was actually about the Gremlin, because the Gremlin, to me, was the most unsafe car on the road because there was a joke about it. I don't know if you ever heard about the Gremlin. Gremlin's
Yes.
gas tanks were in the exact back of the car, right in front of the bumper, and anytime they had a rear collision, they would explode. So to me, for the first as a young kid, I thought Unsafe at Any Speed was about the Gremlin because
Yeah.
I didn't get into moto stuff like that and Pride in America stuff. Anyway,
That's
I,
funny.
I'm
Yeah, I
making it
actually
about
have a
me.
copy of the book. And it's in my back seat. I bring it with me to car shows.
That is funny. That is awesome. So I know you're currently not riding, but if you could go anywhere on any bike you wanted to, start anywhere, end anywhere, where would you go?
I would love to do the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is through Shenandoah and the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia, and I think goes through a couple other states, but it's beautiful mountains. And then there's the Tail of the Dragon, which is, I guess, just a real curvy uphill mountain. I've never done it, but my parents have, and it's definitely real popular, at least in my area. Everybody wants to go do the Tail of the Dragon. It's really fun. It's like you're dragging knee on the street type of turns. So that would be
Only
really
if you
cool.
go
Oh,
fast.
and then I would do it on my bike. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
But you'll probably get stuck by some slow car.
I like driving through scenes like, to me, Tail of the Dragon is scenic with rivers and little streams flowing beside the road. I like to drive that stuff. To me, the Tail of the Dragon isn't really that dangerous or really technical. Joe and me, so there's a place here called Eureka Springs. It's probably about 2 or 3 miles from here, and it's called the Pig Trail. It literally is on the side of a mountain. So where Tail of the Dragon is all like really low and you're like beside a creek and you're beside like a rock face, when you do the Pig Trail, you've got mountain on one side and about 200 or 300 foot drop on the other side. No shoulder on the road, no guardrail. That is a technical road. Also very
Wow.
scenic, but you can't look at the scenery because the roads have literally 10-mile-an-hour curves that people are trying to take at 30, 40 miles an hour. Also, you have to share that road with 18-wheelers. So it gets more than once I've been pushed to the very edge of the road where I could actually look down my left foot or my right foot and see off the side of the mountain. It's
Oh God.
so that to me is a technical, and you don't people that wreck on that one, they don't end up in the rock face or in the creek. They end up going down the river or going down the side of the mountain, and they bring them up in the spring because
Yep.
they don't even go after them. It's just too hard to get those bodies up, so they just kind of leave them there for a while. Pig Trail is very
Crazy.
scenic. Yes, Pig Trail is very scenic, as the wife unit says. But yeah, you as the driver of the motorcycle, you can't slow down to look.
Yeah. You
My,
look where you want to
my
go.
wife had a great view. She had awesome view. She took great pictures. I just saw the road, so it's yeah. If you really want to ride, do that one.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
Paul says like the $1 million
That's
highway in
insane.
Colorado. Yes, yes, everything's. When you're on the side of a mountain, that changes your perspective. But I love scenic stuff. Don't get me wrong, but Yeah, Joe says
Yeah,
his
I've never
mom's
ridden the
house.
tail of the dragon. I don't know what it's like.
It's not that
Oh, go ahead.
bad. I think people just try to get crazy. The worst thing about Tail of the Dragon is people are in cars who try to drive it fast and flip their cars because that's
Mm.
not really what it's for. Also, it's a covered road, so there's lots of leaves on the road, and you hit a pile of leaves. You always hear people talk about grass on the road. They talk about clippings. Clippings aren't bad. Dead leaves are bad. Sand is bad. Rocks are bad. And Tail of the Dragon, Pig Trail, all those have lots of that. That's why they're not really meant to be driven on fast. That's why people crash on them all the time. But I protest. I'm making it about me again. See. So, which bike would you take? One of your
No.
bikes? Let's say you don't take one of your bikes. If you don't take one of your bikes, which bike would you take?
I think I would take. Oh, this is hard. Well, since we're going slow and it's a scenic route, I think I've always wanted to ride a Grom. I've never been on one, but I feel like it would help me with my body position because it's smaller, almost like a mini GP bike. And so I think I would ride a Grom.
So, Journey of Jerry has a souped-up Grom that is maxed out called was it the Evil Knievel? America Knievel? I can't remember what he called his bike now. Spirit of Knievel. That's what it is. But yes, he's actually has a souped-up Grom, and at the campouts we have Grom races. Not that I'm trying to talk you into coming to the camp out. However, if you wanted to ride a Grom, that's the place to do it. And anybody can ride anybody's bike. I know two people that will bring their bikes down, and they have a competition on who gets more mileage on their bike because they loan it to everybody. Those bikes never stop moving until Cindy comes out and says, "Park the bikes." So, just saying.
Oh my goodness. That's pretty cool.
All right. Have you inspired anyone to ride or wrench on their own motorcycles?
So, I mean, with being on the Build Train Race team, it's hard to see the impact that you have, and it's hard for me to believe that I am impacting people, but from the things that have gotten back to me, yes, it's really, really sweet because most of the time during Moto America weekends, there's always, a 5-year old, an 8-year old, a 10-year old girl, at least one of them at all times sitting there watching us work on our bikes, and they want our autograph and they want pictures and they want to sit on the bike. And so all of those situations are just so sweet to me. If I had that growing up, I wonder what trajectory I would have taken because it didn't really bother me that there were no girls in motorsports, but I definitely noticed. And I think for some people that could be a deterrent where they wouldn't feel welcome. But because now there is such a big community of women who are competent, who are working on their own motorcycles, who are not relying on others. Um, I know that there's quite a few people that have personally reached out to me and thanked me and the team for what they've done.
Absolutely cool. See, I used to watch a lot of racers in the early '80s. Anybody that watched drag racing that had Speed 2 channel, um, there was Angel Savoy. She was a drag racer that rode for factory teams for drag race motorcycles, and she was dominant. And of course, you had Shirley Muldowney back in the '70s that would race full rail drag racers, full rails. So there was always been women in the sport, and I think it's just been kind of underappreciated, even though they were champions.
Hmm.
So we just need people to get in there and take it and win and stay with it. I think that's Danica Miller. I think was awesome. She gets beat down a lot because she's a woman in racing, but she actually won. So I think we just need
Yeah.
people to get out there and win and stick with it and be good role models, like you're saying, be good role models. And I think that I
Hmm.
think they can make a good mark. It could be you. Hell, I could be watching you on MotoGP in 5 years. You never know.
I don't know. But I definitely do think that it's important that the women that are in the spotlight are, competent, good racers, that we don't just pick anyone. And that's why I like the Build Train Race program because the application process is so um, focused on your entire self. It's not just what are your lap times, it's your personality. It's the way that you're going to speak to these young girls. Are you going to just be rude to them? Or are you going to take the time and sit on the ground with them and ask them what their favorite color on the motorcycle is? Um, and then, how you're going to interact with the brands that we're working with. How are you going to build your own motorcycle? Are you going to be stupid and forget to bolt something on, and then it comes off and hits your competitor and then messes up their race? So it's definitely a difficult application process, and there's a lot of steps. And I know that they turned down people that were faster than me, but they're looking for the total package for these girls that are kind of pioneering Moto America and representing all of women.
Yeah, and that's how you get people into the sport. You can take, there's been lots of, you can take rock and roll stars, and I always bring up, there's this British rock group that really sucked, but they were famous for their people, and you see those people that tour for years and years. Then you have groups like Oasis that were good, but Oasis had a bunch of real jerks in the band, and that band didn't catch on, even though they sang real well, they had good songs, but the band was such jerks that they couldn't survive their own bad reputation, I guess. So yeah, I mean, if you want to get people into the sport, you have to be an all around good person. You have to be an all around good role model for your sport. We all know lots of people that are in sports and in stuff that suck, and they play really well, but just because they're such a horrible person, nobody will follow them and they can't stay on teams. So you got to be a good role model.
Exactly.
Wife Unit says, I believe with Brianna's work with children, she's inspiring future lady riders. Good for you. So good on you.
Thank you.
Dry Heat Doug says, loving the mugshot art. You want to explain to him, or should we?
It's actually his army, I guess maybe when he was, it looks like he's actually got some rank on him in that picture, but that is from when Elvis Presley was in the army. Not his mugshot, but he did have the option to either go to jail or join the army. So he did pick the army.
That works.
Because he danced with his hips. That's why he got arrested. Hips.
There you go. Joe the Mountain Jedi says, mad props to you for kicking down barriers. Read up about Melissa Burkhoff, Army of Darkness Endurance Racing Team and Road Racing World Contributing Rider.
She sounds cool.
She sounds kind of awesome. All right, what is our next question? If you had to tell a rider one thing you had to learn the hard way, what would it be?
I think the biggest thing that I learned this season was trust. And I don't know if there's an easy way to learn that, I think it takes going past the limit and pushing yourself to learn where it is, and then also realizing the limit's a lot farther away than you think it is, and that you can trust your tires, you can trust your motorcycle. And I think that's what I learned recently, and so I don't know how I would tell them not the hard way, but it's definitely something that you have to learn to be a good rider.
Okay. I know you probably didn't bring them with you today, but you have a really awesome set of leathers too. Do you have those laying around, or do you have those cased up in your trailer? I was hoping you'd bring those.
I do not. They are in my trailer, but I think that they're pretty cool looking. I designed them myself with Bison. They do a fantastic job. I literally had some colored markers on a piece of paper and scribbled a design and sent it to Bison Leathers, and they produced these beautiful, beautiful leathers. So I think I'm just so happy with how they turned out. I do have a photo that I can grab of my leathers. I can go see.
You can drop them.
I can go on a little field trip.
If you guys want to look up her Instagram, it's Brianna.Cutler35. 35.
35.
Brianna.Cutler35. Because Elvis was born in 35. Now we know. So.
Yes. 1935. I do have something I can show you. This is the body, the former body of my motorcycle when I crashed it, and it's now replaced. But that is what it used to look like.
How many
So
crashes have you had? That brings more questions.
only only two on the Royal Enfield. So thankfully it wasn't too bad. Um, the first one was not great. It definitely messed my body work up a little bit, and I had to replace it. But here is my rider card that I hand out. They have these at the tent. You can kind of see my leathers on it, and it's got my bike. And so that's what we have at the tent for like all the young girls to come see,
All right,
and we'll sign it for them and stuff.
I got to ask this question for all the females who ride and are going to watch this. You have a lot of hair. So my wife has used the high tail. She's
Yes.
tried using a braid tail. What do you use when you're racing? What do you do with your hair?
Okay, so my hairdresser does not like this, but I actually just braid it and hope for the best. But I have heard of the hightail. One of my teammates is actually sponsored by them. So she uses that, and it seems to work great on the track. I thought like with the speeds, it would be too fast, but she uses that. I braid my hair in kind of a signature look now, double braids, and I have these bright hair ties that match my bike so that everything is super colorful, and that's what I do every race.
Yep. I have heard. So my wife uses the high tail. I have friends who use the high tail, and you actually, my wife called them because she couldn't get one of the fasteners to go to the helmet, and they wouldn't fasten right. She calls them, and the lady that owns the company answered, and they sent her another stuff. So I think Hightail is an awesome company. You can tell your friend that's sponsored by them. It's actually a really cool company, and she's lucky to get sponsored by them. But yeah, that's what I hear. Either braid, put it in a sock. I have another person that I used to follow who actually made her own like a head sock type thing to put it in. And they have this weird thing now that you put your whole head in a sock, tie it, and then you pull this drawstring and it pulls it up against the back of your head. And I can't remember. It's a bunny tail. She calls it's bunny. So it's Bunny Hogs is the Bunny King Hogs is the name of the channel, and she designed them herself because she was looking for something because she had a buttload of hair. So anyway,
Wow.
Joe
That's really
says
cool. Yeah, the braiding has kind of become a ritual for me. Like
it's your
before
good
each
luck.
race, like I'll braid my hair, and that's like when I get in the zone, and so I enjoy that time.
So what other race rituals do you have?
I It takes me about 2 hours to get in the zone. I put my headphones on, I listen to music. First, I warm up physically, I stretch, I do a bunch of jumping jacks, jump rope, um, balance activities like coordination. Um, and then I'll get my suit on about 45 minutes prior to, again, listening to quite intense music the whole time, not Elvis Presley right now. And I get pumped up, and then I warm up my vision. So I'll either like drop a dollar bill and try to catch it for my reaction speed. I'll have my boyfriend, I'll make him play patty cake with me to help my vision and reaction speed. So I'll do that. And then I sit on the bike and I'll do a perfect lap in my head, just visualize it. And then I just sit there and, prepare, try to block out the risk. And usually by then we go on the track and then I do what I know how to do.
So those of us that have never raced before the race, they let you run the track. Is there any limitations on running the track before the race actually starts? How many laps you can do, how fast you can go?
So, yeah, so what we do immediately before the race, we go out, we do an out lap, leaving from the pit. We do a full lap, and then we stop on the start finish line at the grid at our spot, and we do one practice start, and then we do that lap is a practice lap, and then when we pull back in to our grid spot, then that's when the actual race starts. So we basically get two full laps to practice and warm up and make sure there's no gravel on the track or oil or anything like that before the race starts.
Okay, pretty cool. Tell us one thing that most people may not know about you.
I would say I'm actually quite a grandma girl. Like, I think I have the personality of a 90-year-old. I love to sew and I love to swing dance and knit and make casserole and stuff like that. And I think I'm quite, an elderly woman on the inside.
Okay, I would never have guessed that, but because you're rather young with an old soul, I guess. A lot of that coming around
Yes.
lately. I think we're having a resurgence to the old methods and old souls coming out in people. Ain't gonna fight it. I like it.
Hmm.
Okay. So you talked about if you could buy any bike right now. So if you could buy any bike right now, you'd have to own it for the rest of your life. You wouldn't have to ride it every day. What bike would it be?
I would say, well, I already own it. That's the problem. I would get a Ninja 400. I love little bikes. I think that they're so great because it forces you to have skill if you want to go fast, and it'll push you and show you all of your bad habits. You can't just twist the throttle and get out of the situation and deflect your skill issues. So I would probably get another Ninja 400 because I love them so much. Or maybe if the bike is free, hypothetically, I would get one of those new race made motorcycles that are coming out. I don't remember what manufacturer, but the Ninja is really a street bike that kind of you can take on the track. But some manufacturers are coming out with 400 class motorcycles that are track ready. So maybe I would get one of those.
So I know BMW makes track ready bikes, but they're full liter bikes. All the M classes are full technology, full performance bikes, and they've always made the R1000 Triple R is race ready, which supposedly that's what
Hmm.
double R is supposed to mean, race ready bikes. It doesn't always. I think they've gone to some of the manufacturers went to calling their production bikes RR to make them sound cool, and they're not really race ready. But there are some that are. Kawasaki
Mm.
does it, BMW does it, and then Honda does it in some of them. And then I'm sure you can find some Yamaha bikes that are race ready. But yeah, the name doesn't mean what it used to be. If the bike is free, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we got a few more questions here, and then you can have a couple from me. So here's a question for you, and this is different than the last one. What bike would you want to ride just once, knowing you could never afford it or ride it again once you got off of it?
I would want to ride a Kramer
A
because
Kramer.
I'm friends with some of the people in the Talent Cup in Moto America, and that's what they're riding because it's a GP bike, and since it's a feeder series for MotoGP, they've put them on a GP bike instead of the classic American, manufacturer motorcycle. So I think I'm just so curious on what a GP bike feels like. I know they say it's totally different, which is why so many Americans can't make the jump from Moto America to MotoGP because you know they've never ridden a GP bike before. I can't imagine it being different. So I think I would want to ride a Kramer or any Moto GP bike.
So I have heard people say, I've heard riders say that a GP bike is controlled death. A super bike is controlled by the rider. A GP bike is fully electronically controlled because it's so powerful. Without the electronic control, the bike would absolutely kill you. And I'm sure you've seen a GP when they get their speed sensors cut, the bike immediately goes out of control. They can't even control the bike. And so I would assume, I don't know, it's got to be the scariest thing in the world. I'd want to do it just once, and I would want to ride the old RC51 that Nikki Hayden rode because it was such an awesome bike. It was awesomely fantastic, but it was super cool, and it looked super cool. And of course, it was Nikki Hayden's bike. But yeah, I've seen, and I'm sure you have too, when they lose control of these bikes, they're just gone. They're rockets. They stand straight up and they launch. I mean, they look like they're going to fly away.
Yeah.
So that to me looks like is the big difference. Joe
That's true. That's
says,
a good point. Yeah, I can't imagine how terrifying that would be.
you're looking at a bike with over 200 horsepower. I mean, and everyone has it. It's insane. They're only, like the baseline is, it's kind of like watching drag racing when they have, you know, a Ford Capri out there, or they have a Chevy Capri, or they have a Ford Pinto, and the only part of the bike that's a Ford Pinto is the top of it, the Liberty top. And I saw one
Yeah.
time, the drag race was a Subaru Brat, and the only thing about a Brat was the actual top of it. It looks like they ripped a Brat off, just the very top of the Brat off, and stuck it on a monster truck. It was nothing alike.
That's
Nothing like it.
funny.
So
Are the brats the like the El Camino looking
Brat's a mini El
ones?
Camino, yeah. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, but calling it a Subaru Brat was not absolutely. Joe the Mountain Jedi says, simple one for me, Wayne Rainey's 1991 season YZR 500. If I'm going to die, I'm going to be grinning like a Mad Hatter when I go. Yeah.
That's funny.
Wifey in it says he built a race replica of Wayne Rainey's bike and won at a bike show. He built a replica.
That's cool.
So he actually
I
had
like
it,
Wayne
I guess.
Rainey, but that's insane. I'm more of a Freddie Spencer fan, Fast Freddie, but that is because he is my coach, and so I've gotten to know him personally, and he is the sweetest. Oh my gosh, he's just wonderful. You would think for a MotoGP world champion, he would not be well rounded and be able to dumb himself down to my level, but he works on the Build Train Race team, and he is just incredible. And then, like, sometimes I forget that he's just this racing legend and that he's insane, because he's just so chill. He's just so soft spoken and nice, and we eat dinner with him all the time. He's just awesome.
I think a lot of them are. I mean, you look at Valentino Rossi. You would think when I was watching him race in the early 2000s, I was like, God, that guy's got to be really conceited, man. He's just such a conceited racer because he's so good. He's got to be conceited. And then you see that he does all these charities and he does all this stuff for his hometown, and he builds racetracks for kids, in his country. And it's like this guy is as far as conceited as you could possibly get. And so I think a lot of them have a big heart, because I think a lot of them fall in, and a lot of them realize their fans are what makes them. A lot of these guys without their fans wouldn't get the sponsorships they get. Without the sponsorships, they wouldn't get on the rides they get on. Without the rides, they wouldn't be winners. So I think a lot of them realize that their fans really make who they are. You got a couple of jerks, and I've seen them, but most of them I think are very cool and down to earth and love their fans and share that love of motorcycles. And I think that's where motorcycles are a lot different than a lot of other sports, because you blend in something that normal people don't blend in on. So it instantly makes you different.
Exactly.
It makes you special in their eyes too. So again, waxing poetic. Joe the Mountain Jedi says, Freddie is a hell of a talented rider. That's an awesome resource to have available. Absolutely.
Yes, he's fantastic.
Joe the Mountain Jedi says, 500 cc's, 4-cylinder, 2-stroke that weighs 260 pounds wet. What's not to love? No traction control, just a 3-pound lump of fat on top of your spinal cord. Absolutely cool. All right, next question. We're getting to the last ones. What is your toxic trait?
I would say, I don't know. I'm trying to pick one. Um, I think right now, honestly, replying to people, and you probably saw this. I am so bad at like responding to DMs, um, and text messages. If it's not like an emergency, I think it's because I grew up with so much technology like forced down my throat. I'm trying to get a flip phone and go live in the woods. And if you need me, you can send me a letter. I'm so bad at responding because my body just like rejects the constant like social. I don't like it. So
Well,
I apologize that I didn't respond to you quickly.
I was panicking. I'm like, okay, I think she forgot about this. I think we're going to have to cancel. Crap. So, no, you came through. So as someone who grew up in the 70s and 80s with no technology, I like it a lot better having this technology. Sometimes it does go overboard, But technology is not a bad thing. But yeah, sometimes I just turn the phone off, turn the ringer off, and I go off and do my thing, play video games, go for a ride, whatever. And yeah, there's a time I think that's why it's like taking long trips, because you don't have Facebook, you don't have this, and I'll go, especially on like a trip that I know people are going on. I'll update on the gas stops like every 150 miles or so. But there's just something peaceful about getting away from everything and just you, the road, and the bike, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You are getting a bike, right?
Yes, I agree.
You're gonna get a bike soon, right? You're gonna go
Yes.
ride and have a good time. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So what is the thing that you will never take a road trip without? You're on the road a lot because you're in your super camper a lot. What will you never go on the road without?
First of all, Dramamine, because I get super motion sick. So, if I want to survive, then I need to take medicine so that I don't throw up everywhere. And second is my racing simulator video game on my laptop. And I do that every track that I've never ridden. I'll practice on that on the way there. And that helps me a lot with learning the track and just visualizing, because my brain can't tell the difference between a simulation or visualizing in my head versus actually doing it, and so I'm able to get that repetition and perfect lines and practice.
So I went to Willow Springs here last year, actually last April, I think. And when I saw the track, it's exactly like a couple of these GP games I have and some of these road race games I have. Walking around the track, it was funny how all the little markers were there. They had put all these markers in the game. It was kind of weird. It's kind of like the first time I went to New York City and I actually saw things in New York City that I'd seen on TV. And you think some of these things may be fake. They may be blue screen or something, or green screen, and they're actually there. And it's weird to see these things in person. What was the weirdest
Absolutely.
thing?
I mean, like, they have tar strips and everything. It's crazy how accurate those games are.
What was the weirdest thing when you started traveling, that after you started traveling, you're like, oh my God, I'm not home anymore?
I think the weirdest part was when I started like stacking suitcases. I would have multiple prepared for the different trips. I've always been a big traveler. My family and I are always on some sort of trip, but just having literal like back to back. You know how people meal prep? I was suitcase prepping, so I would have you know my current one and then the one for like 2 weeks as soon as I got back from the. It was back to back, so that was kind of crazy for me.
Chasing Ghost and the wife unit both want autographed pictures of you racing on their wall. So both.
If you come to one of the races, we've got plenty.
Oh, I lost you for a second. Come back. So you have these at the races.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, if they come to any of the races, then we will. I'll give them signed autographs. Unfortunately, I kept running out last season. Um, I think just people really like my bike, and so I went through them quite fast and would usually run out by the first day on all the weekends. But I'll try to snag some for you guys next season then.
Very cool. Got a couple more questions. So what is your favorite motorcycle from a movie or TV show?
Favorite motorcycle. Okay, this is you're not I don't think that you've ever seen this movie. This is totally like a girl film from the early 2000s, but this is honestly what made me want to get a motorcycle. Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan. It's just like this teenager
Of course, I've seen
movie.
that movie.
I don't know what motorcycle it is.
Joe
Oh,
would know.
okay.
Joe, what motorcycle's in
But
that
the
movie?
the boyfriend, the guy, he pulls up and he's got his long hair and he like pulls up and you know up in front of the school, and it just for some reason was the coolest thing in the world to me, and I was like, I want to be that guy when I go to high school. So that that is the motorcycle I think I would want.
I do not remember what motorcycle that was. I do know a lot of especially like movies, they'll alter a bike in some way where you can't really tell what it is. They'll like add pieces to it or something. The exception, of course, being like Renegade, Happy Days, bikes that actually get sponsored in the film. They keep that stuff on. When they're using a generic bike, if they don't have permission to use the bike, they change it. Matrix comes to mind when they use that bike. And then the last John Wick, they altered the bikes just a little bit where you couldn't tell what they were. But other than that,
that's pretty cool.
I'm gonna say Buck probably knows this.
Well, I have a fun fact.
Go ahead.
Speaking of John Wick, I don't know if you know, but Keanu Reeves is very involved with Moto America. And he has actually stated that his favorite team in the paddock of all the teams in Moto America is Build Train Race. So
really,
he knows who we are, and he loves it.
Absolutely, that's absolutely cool. Yes, we talk about him on the channel all the time. Usually, when people say, when I ask them what bike they want to ride just once, they usually say the Keanu Reeves bikes, because they're awesome looking, they're custom, they're built to fit you, and they're his bikes. I mean, the KR1 is an absolutely awesome bike. Granted, it's probably $100,000 more than I'm willing to spend on a motorcycle, but they just look cool. What's funny is when he goes out, he's a very modest person. He doesn't go out on only his own bikes. He goes out on Hondas. He's got a bunch of he's got a Norton that he goes out on. He just loves motorcycles. So absolutely cool guy. I'm waiting for Joe to come up on what bike this is, because now I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm actually gonna do a search because now I gotta know. I got one more question for you before you go. You can think about it. Who would you like to ride with from the past or present? Could be someone who is past or somebody who is still around. Who would you like to ride with?
Yeah, I gotta think about that. I'm tempted to say Elvis, but I don't know. I think that would be cool. Like, if I could put Elvis on the back of my motorcycle and show him what real speed is, that would be pretty cool. But also, I think my grandma, she was, I've never met her, I'm named after her, but she rode motorcycles, and I will be inheriting her motorcycle eventually, and so I'm really excited for that. But I would love to ride with her, just go on a cruise with her. That would have been really cool.
So the picture I'm seeing here, is it the bike with the flame? It's a black bike with red flames.
Yes.
That's a Ducati Monster, and I can't tell if it's and they're always like weird sizes, like a 632 and a 961. Weird freaking sizes. But yeah, that's a Ducati Monster, and I don't know what size it's the smaller one. L1.
That's cool.
Joe says it's a Ducati Monster. Ghost says it's Ducati. Okay. Ghost says it's a 2001 Monster 900 Dark. So it's a 900. Why don't I just wait? See, I waited for my people to tell me they didn't come through for me, so I had to look it up myself. But thanks, everybody. So it's a Ducati. Go figure. All right.
That's
so
funny.
Do you have any questions for me? And crowd, audience,
I
have any
do.
questions for her? Go ahead.
Okay. My first question is, how did you get into creating this show? What was the first step in, the trajectory of all of this happening?
So I started making videos because I had people calling me all the time saying, don't down the motorcycle. And so I thought, I'll just start putting stuff up on YouTube when I travel and some motorcycle stuff, and it'll be a little fun. And so I started putting stuff out for my family, like basically where they could tell where I was, because I live about 800 miles from the rest of my family, for a good reason, because I can't stand them. I mean, because I had other places to go. That's what I meant. So it went from there. I just started recording things and put them on YouTube, and my friends liked it, so then I started making funny stuff and putting it on YouTube. And then I went down to Forgotten Angels, and when I went down there, I was so blown away by it, I started asking people questions. So I started doing my first interviews, and my first one was like going around little 2 or 3 minute interviews. Where are you from, and what do you ride? How'd you get here? What does Forgotten Angels mean to you? And that evolved into putting like 3 or 4 people together, then 10 people together, and making a video out of all the people and why they're Forgotten Angels. And then that turned into interviewing people like this, because once people got home, well, they had said such interesting things. And one of my friends, Nothing at Random, Aaron, when I asked him about Forgotten Angels, he goes, I said, you want to do a quick little spot? He goes, I don't really have anything to say. I said, well, let's do a little quick one. Just answer the questions I give you, and I'll just take it from there. I'll get a minute or two out of him. Once he started talking about Forgotten Angels, he went on for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, well, shit, that's got to be its own video. So I gave him his own I made a little 10-minute video about him talking about Forgotten Angels, what it meant to him, and why he comes, and how his life has changed getting involved in it. And so then all of us went home, and then I was like, well, I need to call my other friends. So I started doing videos like this when hey, you're back home in Ohio, and you're back in Florida, and you're in Texas. We'll do this online thing. So we started doing an online thing. And it's just evolved from there. And I learned, like, people like you. I see you online, and I go, oh my gosh, that's very, effective. That's what people want to be. That's, people want to talk to people like that. People want to find out about them. And so now I go through and I see somebody that looks interesting or has an interesting story, and I get a hold of them and I say, hey, do you want to come on the show? So I do a little interview with them. And it's just kind of evolved and evolved and evolved. And now I got into working on the bike, doing maintenance, doing trips, going up to the Harley dealership and filming bikes that are for sale. And so it's like, once you start filming and finding things that people want to see, there's just so much out there. I think you could probably do YouTube stuff, because look at who's the chick that just won? She was on Dancing with Stars. She's a rugby player. Why can't I remember her name? Alona Mayer.
Oh, yes.
She was a rugby player, but also just started doing a little Instagram stuff and posting stuff online, and now she's like got this huge media following. Because everybody loves watching her videos. You don't know what people want until you give it to them, and they don't know what they want until they see it. So once people see stuff and they like it, people keep coming back. So hopefully people like this channel. Hopefully people like what I'm doing here, and hopefully it'll just keep growing. So does that answer your question?
Yes, that is really cool.
Probably more than
that
you wanted to hear.
That is a neat story.
No,
that was interesting. Well, I have a second question too.
Okay.
You said that you were asking other people what Forgotten Angels meant to them, but I would like to know what it means to you.
Forgotten Angels to me, so I got to tell you a bunch of stories that lead to stories. So the first time I went, there was this kid there named Junior. And Junior is the person I talk about every time I talk about Forgotten Angels. Junior was a bigger kid, very quiet. You could tell there was like an emotional storm going on inside this kid's head. And everything, he couldn't look in the eyes, he couldn't talk to you. And so I asked David, Cindy, who run the Forgotten Angels, like, man, what's with this kid? And they're like, he's never belonged anywhere. This kid literally has never stayed in a home more than 6-8 months at a time. They'll put him in a home. Sometimes it's only like 3 months. They'll put him in a home, have him there for a while. Some of the homes he was at, and I'm not kidding, there were 4 bedrooms. Each bedroom had 4 kids in it. Sometimes there'd be 3 bedrooms, and each bedroom had 4 beds in it. And 12 kids, 16 kids in this house, and they're basically using these kids as meal tickets. So in Florida, foster care is so bad, and homeless children is so bad, that they're willing to put a kid anywhere and pay for this kid to stay there as long as they give him a place to sleep. They don't even have to feed these kids sometimes. They just put them in these homes. And so this kid, because he was a bigger kid, kind of scary looking because he was quiet, the kid literally would get to a house and say, I'll probably leave tomorrow. Remember Shazam, when the kid basically got there and he was like, yeah, I'll probably be leaving tomorrow. Nobody ever loves me. That kind of thing. But that was how this kid was. So there, though, he graduated. He turned 18. The night he turned 18, they came in his room, and I'm talking like he turned 18 at midnight. They're in his room 5 minutes later saying, hey, you got to go. We got another kid coming here tomorrow. We won't get any money out of you after today because the state stops paying when you turn 18. You got to go. They gave this kid a grocery bag, like a plastic grocery bag from Walmart with a pair of socks in it and a pair of underwear. They said, you got to go. The deputy found this kid on the street in Tampa at like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, walking down the street. So the deputy stops to see if this kid is high, drunk, run away, a gang member, whatever. And so he asks the kid, what are you doing? He says, I'm just walking. He says, where are you going? I'm not sure. I got to find a place to live. he's like, where are you going? Are you 18? Are you a runaway? He goes, no, I'm not a runaway. I'm a grown adult now. I need to find a place to live. And something clicked in this guy's head, and he says, are you a foster child? And he says, well, not anymore. Now I'm 18. Now I'm on my own. And so Dave and Cindy have been working with these foster kids and with the sheriffs and stuff, because these kids are all over the streets. This kid calls David and says, you got a place to put this kid? And he's like, I'll put him on my couch if I have to. He says, bring him over here. So they get him over here. So what they do at Forgotten Angels, they have a bunkhouse where kids, it's basically like a longhouse, kind of like a barracks for, in the military. But once the kids can build their own home, they build tiny homes on the property. These little, look at them like a she shed. These little sheds you get from Lowe's and Home Depot and stuff. They'll buy these sheds, or they can build them from scratch, and they build them up, put a bed inside them, they decorate them, they paint them, they put a roof on them, they make them their own little homes, and they live in them. So when they're doing this, these kids are learning carpentry, they're learning electrical, they're learning plumbing. They work on the property to keep it up, so there's animals on the property, they do grass trimming, they mow the grass, they do all this stuff, and they learn all these skills. While they're there, they get a while to settle in. Once they settle in, they go find a job. So that's where motorcycles get into it, is because the motorcycle is the cheapest transportation you can have in Florida. And it's Florida, the weather literally is like over 60 degrees, 90% of the year. So they get these motorcycles, and then that's how they get to work. They can work on the motorcycles. Gas is cheap, insurance is cheap, easy to get a driver's license. So, and to me, going down there, the next year I went, Junior was a little better. He was talkative. The next year, he's even more talkative, and he's talking about, I want to get this business going. I'm gonna start my own business. I'm gonna do all this stuff, because he's learning how to work on motorcycles. He learned how to work on cars. He learned how to do carpentry and stuff. The next time I went, this kid didn't live there anymore. He had moved to Atlanta. He started his own handyman business, and so we're at the campsite. He's handing out handyman cards. Hey, anybody need some handyman stuff done? To see this kid growing from a guy that couldn't even look you in the face to a man who owns his own business. Who the thing out there, it's kind of funny. A mark of prestige there is buying a car. To see these kids be able to go from, I don't have anything, I own a pair of underwear. I own a pair of underwear and a pair of socks. That's what I own. Up to now I have a car, I have a business, I'm making my own money, I can live somewhere that's not here, is astounding. One more story I want to tell you. I work with a company called Indy Ridge. They make boots and leather goods and riding gear. They donated a bunch of boots to the cause, because I used to work for the company, and I kind of still do. So he donated a lot of boots. One of the kids there, they're handing out boots. They give the boots out to the kids who are there, the people who help on the property, and then they raffle off some, and they'll give to people who did help out. They give this kid a pair of boots, and he's like, "These are mine?" He says, "Yeah, these are your boots." He goes, "I got to give them back?" He's like, "No, they're yours." He goes, "Like, they're mine?" He says, "Yeah, they're yours." He's like, "They're really, for real, they're mine, and nobody can take them away from me." And I'm like, what the heck, And so, of course, I want to know the story. David's like, yeah, this kid, he would go from home to home. He'd stay there for a few months, and then he'd leave. When he left, he was allowed to take one pair of shoes, one pair of socks, one pair of underwear, a shirt, and a pair of pants. Most of the time, whatever they had given him, they took back. He couldn't keep it. So a lot of times, whatever he came there with is what he left with. And this kid, for the first time in his life, owned a pair of boots no one could take away from him. Owned something. To think of that is just astounding. And to help with that, and to be a part of that, and to be a part of this kid now owning something of his own and becoming a better person and being something better, that's what I'm in it for. I mean, you can't, like I said, the feeling of being able to give without wanting anything back is probably the best feeling in the world to most people. And that's what I'm in it for, and that's what Forgotten Angels means to me, helping another person who otherwise would end up on the street. A lot of these kids, when they find them, they're on the street. They're addicted to drugs. They get involved in prostitution. They've gone to jail. They've been in juvie. Because their whole life, they've been taught, you're worthless. The only thing you're worth is for me to get a check. That's the only thing you're worth. And once I can't get a check out of you anymore, you're worthless. You're useless. Get out. And it's heartbreaking. Forgotten Angels for these kids. I had David on a couple of weeks ago. And some of these kids, when they get there, they don't know how to tie their own shoes. They've never filled out a job application. They haven't finished school, a lot of them. Because as soon as they turn 18, hey, we don't need to take care of you anymore, get out. So Forgotten Angels gets these kids to school. Cindy, this one kid, had been held back a couple times, had never finished high school. Cindy's getting up every morning and driving this kid to school to make sure he finishes and graduates and gets a diploma. That's what Forgotten Angels does for these kids. It's huge. So anything I can do to help that, I'm in. I'm on it. Did that answer your question?
That's fantastic. That's
It is.
that's amazing. Yeah, that sounds amazing. I absolutely I need to go. That was I know that wasn't your intention to be a sales pitch, but that just sounds wonderful, and I love what they're doing, and that's absolutely something that's needed, and that's really great.
Yeah. Joe says part of the agreement that the kids have to sign when they come there is learning to ride and obtain your license and get a GED and a diploma. So when they come there, they have an agreement. This is what we're going to do. But they help them do it. I mean, they make it, and it's more than that. You know, I've heard these kids they call David and Cindy mom and dad because it's the first time they've ever been loved in their life and told they're worth something. So Buck did have a question. Buck asked how Brianna preps or handles tense situations when you're on the track.
Well, I have prepared myself, in the past few years. I definitely thrive on pressure and intensity, and any situation that I could put myself in willingly that would be intense and scary, I have done it. So to me, honestly, racing, it's not super tense for me. It's actually, I feel very calm. It's like a dance, you know? And that's good because motorcycles don't like abrupt, tense movements. So I think that it's really helpful that my natural reaction to intensity is to calm down. If there's a crisis, I'm going to be very calm and collected, and I'm loving it, and everything slows down for me in those moments. And so I think it's really helpful when I'm having a oh crap moment and I think that I'm going to go down. I don't necessarily get tense or abrupt and just grab a handful of brake that's going to actually make me crash. I think I tend to stay a little bit smoother, and a lot of times that helps me avoid crashes. But that's just like my natural reaction to intensity in scary situations.
Good answer. Joe says if you do make it down, he will put you on a motorcycle while you're here. And he owns, like I said, he works in a motorcycle shop.
You.
He's the big kahuna at this motorcycle shop. And like I said, I've seen that. I've been to the shop. I've seen it on his videos and stuff. He's got a lot of motorcycles in there. He's got a lot of classic stuff in there. Some cool stuff. You got to check out his channel. It's Joe the Mountain Jedi. And he usually is on with me.
Okay.
We do a back-to-back on Monday nights. He comes on at about 7 o'clock Central Time, which is 8 o'clock your time. I come on right after him, and then Gma Rides comes on after me. Another awesome woman rider. And I consider her my older sister, and she considers me her brother. We're all going to be at the camp out. If you come down there, you're going to see us all. One other thing that I have to warn you, Saturday night is karaoke night. Sometimes Friday night's karaoke night. If you come, we're probably going to talk you into singing. None of us sing well. I do a thing. I have a thing. I did it last time I was there. No matter what people tell me to ask me to sing, I'll sing it. If you sign me up, I'm going to sing it. This year, there's a little caveat. I'm going to sing for donations. So the wife unit, Joe's wife, will actually be collecting money and making sure they pay and give it to Cindy. So if you pay, make sure Cindy. If you pay to Cindy, make sure the wife unit knows because she's going to be my singing pimp. So, but if you come, we're going to talk you into singing. So be ready for it.
Okay. That's okay. I love karaoke, so.
Yeah. Buck says the only advertising the FA does is by word of mouth. And those of us who have big mouths and big reaches, it comes from the heart. And I think that's probably the best thing. Anybody that's ever, gone to the camp out comes back with a different mentality on how the system works, one, but you have a different view on life when you come out of there because you see, again, a lot of us are, have never seen that part of life before. I mean, I have, but a lot of people that go down there, we say there's 3 kinds of people that go to the camp out. When you go down there, the first part are the people who have never seen this happen before, have never heard of kids getting thrown out on the street and made to survive on their own. And those people go, oh my God, I never knew this stuff existed. I want it to stop. And then the other part, the other kids or people that go there are the people who never had to go through that themselves, but they've seen friends or they've seen people at school. And then they didn't understand then, but then when they go to the camp out and they see these kids living like this, they go, oh my God, that was Joe, that was Billy, that was Janie, that was, Susie. And they go, oh my God, how can this happen? I want to stop it. And then the other group is the people who've actually lived through this and survived it and convinced themselves this was just a bad dream. And then when they go to the camp out, they see these kids living like this and go, I can't let this happen to another human being. So that's the kind of people that go there. That's the kind of mentalities that are there. And all of those together is what makes Forgotten Angels what it is. We all put our powers together. We're like Captain Planet. When all of our rings, combine, we make something better. And so that's the power of us. That's the power of words and vowels and using your voice to get heard and to stop this crazy crap that's going on. Joe says he's going to bring his bucket so he can carry a tune. Chasing Ghost says she's bringing her guitar because I've already promised her a song. So Dry Heat. What did Dry Heat Doug say? Dry Heat Doug says Joe's channel is the absolute best on YouTube. I would probably agree with that. If you want to know anything about motorcycles, the dude, so again, he does this random and parked. He does tutorials on how to do things on the motorcycles, how to do everything from valve adjustments to changing cylinder rings and stuff. And he does it in a way that any layman can understand it. There's nothing stupid technical about it. And he does it, when he's finished with his videos, you're like, I can do that. Obviously, you work on your own bikes and stuff, but I highly recommend it for stuff that if you want to learn about motorcycles and what they do, in case you ever do get a chance to wrench on an engine and try to squeeze some torque out of it and some horsepower. He's the channel to watch. Yes, I made a Captain Planet reference.
I'll check it out for sure.
All right. So with that, tomorrow night I got a 360 to actually work. I've had this 360 forever. Couldn't make it work right. Couldn't edit it right. All of a sudden I learned how. It was like came to me in the middle of the night. So tomorrow's video will be about the 360 and me trying to record with it, and I was obviously going down to Southern Thunder. And again, we talked about Forgotten Angels in the video. So with that, do you have any last thoughts, final thoughts?
I don't think so. It was just incredible. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for taking the time to explain Forgotten Angels, because that sounds fantastic, and I would love to support in any way that I can. And I love talking with you, and definitely it's always fun. People in the chat who have shared interests. My local community, I have a bunch of teenagers who they're my friends and I love them, but they're not motorcycle people, so it's kind of cool to connect with other riders, and so this has been great.
Awesome. Any Friday night you can come on. If you see us on, use the link I sent you. That's how you get in. Come in and BS with us about motorcycles. We're always here. And with that,
okay,
let's find an exit song. This is my favorite part of the show. All right, come back tomorrow night. Joe, again, will probably be at 7 o'clock Central Time. I'll be at 7:30 to 8, whatever time Joe's video is over. Mine starts. And then GMI Rides is right after me. So like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Don't forget I got a Patreon. I sell t-shirts. And I'm going to have t-shirts at the camp out. I'm going to be selling them for the charity. So any money you buy the t-shirts goes to Forgotten Angels. So bring your wallets. Don't bring your checkbook. I don't take checks unless Cindy takes checks, because they're all going to go to Cindy anyway. So like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, and I will see you guys in the next video. Did I forget to hit something? I did. Oh, maybe I should turn it up. Now we can go. All right, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, and I will see you guys next video. Bye-bye.